So I'm sure that we can all agree that the removal of the headphone jack was not a great decision. Sure, it benefited the manufacturers and helped push companies towards wireless audio, but for consumers, this wasn't great. And while most of us blame Apple for the change, Apple wasn't actually the first company to remove it. I'm Luke Pock with Android Authority, and did you know that the first smartphone to drop the headphone jack wasn't an iPhone? This Did You Know has been adapted from articles over on our site. If you'd like to learn more, check them out in the link below. The iPhone 7 was Apple's first phone to lack a 3.5mm headphone jack. The company pitched it in the 2016 keynote, citing courage as the main motivator. We all know the real reason was to push the debut of the original AirPods, which released alongside the iPhone 7. Still, Apple wasn't the first to remove it. In fact, the mobile manufacturer OPPO was the first major brand to completely ditch the headphone jack. In 2012, the OPPO Finder was the first phone to not have any sort of wired audio capabilities out of the box. And the reason for that is something you probably haven't thought of. Back in the early days of smartphones, manufacturers were pushing to get thinner and thinner devices. This wasn't only a trend across mobile devices, but also laptops. The first MacBook Air touted the famous "so thin it can fit in an envelope" design.
Let me take it out here.
So when OPPO removed the headphone jack in the OPPO Finder back in 2012, it's not because they wanted to push towards wireless audio. No, in fact, they wanted to create the world's thinnest smartphone. Essentially, they wanted the bragging rights and news popularity. The Finder came in at 6.65mm thick, which was incredibly thin for a device at that time. 2 years later, in 2014, OPPO would do it again with the OPPO R5, which was over 2mm thinner than the previous attempt. In fact, the R5 was barely thicker than the micro USB port required to charge the phone. This time around, the R5 did include a 3.5mm dongle in the box, but it was a hard push for consumers. Unfortunately, the mobile market wasn't ready to adopt wireless audio, especially considering that truly wireless Bluetooth audio wasn't mainstream or affordable enough. OPPO did eventually lose the title to the 4.75mm Vivo X5 Max, which funny enough, did actually end up having a headphone jack. So when Apple dropped the headphone jack in 2016, why did the phone industry take notice? To a certain degree, Apple's reputation and brand definitely helped. Apple was known for starting trends. It was one of the bigger brands to make the concept of wireless audio more palatable. At first, not everyone was on board. Even Samsung took shots at Apple for abandoning the headphone jack, but quietly retracted its comments upon releasing the Galaxy Note 10 series, which didn't end up having one either. It's no surprise that Apple pushed the market towards removing the headphone jack. Not only was it the way to push its convenient and easy-to-use AirPods, but it also meant more money for the company. Now the company didn't have to include a headphone jack and could charge more for wireless audio products, which they soon developed into one of the most profitable product categories for the company to date. At the time, Apple used the phrasing "courage" and cited that removing the headphone jack would free up valuable space for a larger battery or more storage. Whether or not you choose to believe this, Apple and future Android phones did make a better case of this argument by putting tons of features into relatively thin designs. Still, it's interesting to think about why OPPO's effort to remove the headphone jack didn't pan out. Sure, the thinnest phone in the world title brought some attention to the company, but at the time, OPPO put the cart before the horse, so to speak. In 2012, the company was still small and didn't really have enough influence to shake up the industry. Apple, on the other hand, was the tech giant that not only had the popularity and the influence, but also the product to do it with. I'll throw the question to you guys. Why do you think that Apple was so successful in removing the headphone jack? Do you think OPPO had a chance? Why or why not? Just let me know down below. Alright, that's going to wrap it up. I'm Luke Pock with Android Authority, and I'll catch you in the next video. Dread says we need a revisiting series, to be honest, not just for phones but laptops and tablets as well, especially highlighting how much more life you can get out of old Androids that people think are obsolete. We'll definitely take that into account, and yeah, maybe we'll make a video on that. Ashila says, OMG, the front-facing speakers were legendary. I have to agree, the speakers on the HTC One M7 were kind of insane. Puz says, please do a revisit of the HTC One M8. Starry says, do a revisit of the HTC One M8. Muhammad says, do a revisit of the HTC One M8. I think we're gonna do a revisit of the HTC One M8. Carbon Goofy says, HTC One M8, M9, and 10 please. Yeah, I think that might be a little bit heavy on the HTC, but we'll definitely make one on the One M8. Alright, that's gonna wrap it up. Thanks for your comments. I'll see you guys later. Peace.